Sorry, I just kind of went straight in and I didn't introduce myself. My name is Aoife Mulligan, and I'm going to sing a few songs just as everyone is coming in, and maybe throughout the night as well. So I'm going to follow this up with a song called Skibbering. So this one, I suppose you'll kind of get the story from the lyrics, but it's very, I'm sure some of you have heard it, but kind of based around Valentine's. Oh, Father dear, I often hear you speak of her in silence. Her love, dear saints, her valleys green, her mountains green and wild. They say she's a lovely land, wherein a saint might dwell. Oh, why did you abandon the reason to me tell?
Yes, changes it.
Oh, son, I loved my native land with energy and pride, until light came on my crops, my sheep, my cattle died. My rent and taxes were to pay, I could not then redeem, and that's another reason why I left out Skibbering. Your mother too, God rest her soul, fell on the stony ground. She fainted in her anguish, saint as a nation round. She never was, but passed away from life to immortal dream. She found her quiet grave made born in dear Skibbering. And you were only 2 years old, and feeble was your frame. I could not leave you with my friends, for you bore your father's name. I wrapped you in my coat in the dead of night, unseen. I heaved a sigh and bade goodbye to dear skittering. Oh, Father dear, the day will come when in answer to your call, oh, Irish man of freedom, stern will rally one, and oh, I'll be the man to lead the band beneath our flag of green, and loud and clear will raise the cheer. Revenge or skillery. Thank you. So I'm going to do just one more for now. Spansel Girl. As you can tell, I like the Irish songs. That's what I grew up with. Last night as I was dreaming of the days gone by, me and mine been bound on a island, to Ireland I did fly. I stepped on board a vision and followed with the till I came to anchor at the cross at Spansel Hill. It been the 23rd of June, the day before the fair, when our sons and daughters in crowds assembled there, the young, the old, unbreakable, their duty to fulfill at the parish church near Clearly, a mile from Spansel Hill. I went to see my neighbors to hear what they might say. The old ones were all dead and gone, the young ones turning grey. I met with Taylor quickly, he's as bold as ever still. Sure, he used to make me bridges when I was in Spansel Hill. I paid a flying visit to my one and only love. She's as fair as sun and lily, and as gentle as the dove. She wrapped her arms around me, saying, Johnny, I love and the pride of Sponsor Hill. Thank you.
It's a posh name. But I thought I'd welcome you here to the festival soiree. It's the 30th time that the Marianne Edgeworth Festival has been run. And so we had difficulties this year with the weather, having to put some of our events inside instead of outside and like fresh air. So we never have the festival soiree outside, so we're in the right place. And I also thought, like, the soiree to me sounds so exotic. And it's like, it's a French word, it's like an evening, but it's something added to the evening. And what I think is added to this evening are all the people coming. First of all, those who have taken part in the Marianne Edgeworth Poetry Competition and the Short Story Competition, you know, for all their work to come here, and they're going to receive prizes for their achievement. And we have, to give those prizes, we have Molly Twomey. She's from Cork. You started off in Lismore, didn't you, Molly? Yeah, and she ended up in Cork. And are you going to stay there, do you think? Oh, I don't know. You're not sure? Anyway, sure. Yeah. They're probably delighted to have you. But you were with the adjudicator in the poetry competition, and you have some certificates there to be giving out in a few moments. And then we have Órfhlaith Foyle. You're from Galway, aren't you? Yeah. So Órfhlaith was the lady who did the short story adjudicating, and she's also got certificates to give out to people in a few minutes. All right, so that's great. And as well as Molly and Órfhlaith, we have, after the break, which is sort of in the middle of the evening, we have two ladies coming to do a conversation drama. And that's not a very usual thing, but they're going to be in costume in a different era in the world, in time. And one is called Lady Morgan, and the other one is called Lola Montez. I think that's exotic too. So they'll be doing a conversation drama for us after the refreshments. It's a conversation, and you can have a good listen into that and enjoy yourselves. So just to let you know that photography and videoing is taking place this evening, so you'll know that if you don't want to be seen or anything, I hope that doesn't put you out too much, and that it's okay for you. And also that the escape route, for if there's, in case of any problem where you need to get out quickly, is through the same doors that you came in and out into the fresh air out there. It's not too far away, so we should be all right. Okay, so I think that's it. And thank you to Aoife. That's Aoife over there. Aoife, you're a local person, aren't you? I am. Where are you from, Aoife? I'm from Edgeworth. Edgeworth town, yeah. I think I'm a newcomer, you see, so I don't know. But I really thought you had a lovely voice. Everybody was whispering in my ear, hasn't she got a lovely voice? And your voice was lovely. And thanks to Peter as well for doing the sound and the lighting and the sort of music in between times. So I'm going to start off the evening with Molly. Molly, would you like to come up? And you can use this rostrum to lean on, you know, it's very good. And and if you go through your piece of the evening. Thanks very much. And will you give me a handshake with me? I mean, I'll give you a handshake.
Hello. So I am going to be presenting the winners of the Marianne Edgeworth poetry competition, which I was really privileged to judge. So it was a privilege to read the 345 poems submitted to the Marianne Edgeworth Poetry Festival this year. I ended up sending John a list of 10 highly commended poems along with the 3 winners, which he asked me to whittle down to 3 highly commended and 3 winners, which was very difficult because the standard was very high. They were poems of illness, nature, belonging and identity, and every poem had some spark, something original and fresh that made them stand out from the rest. And I'm going to start with the highly commended, which is in random order, not in any particular order. And I'm going to start with Frank Farrelly, as I know he's here, so I was just sitting beside him. Frank's poem was called After Storm Owen, which celebrates what I assume is a pub as a space where people meet after a storm. Those who have lost power, maybe it's a community centre, maybe that's my own life experience getting in the way there, who gather there for warmth alongside the regulars. The poem ends on a beautiful image of a girl hauling a young man from the bar, and outside in the rain, she guides his bike up to him, one hand on the handlebars, the other clutching his wrist. The poem, to me, celebrates tough love and a sense of beauty and gratitude for having people who want you home from the pub, who care so much they'll go out in the rain to get you. So I'd like to welcome Frank Farrelly up to collect his certificate and to read the poem, should he have the poem. Fab, and we'd love to hear it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Molly. Thank you. One Waterford House, one Waterford House. After Storm Owen. Some who lost their power come here for warmth. Some, like the pair at the counter, almost live here. The greybeard slurs, he couldn't catch a ball to save his life. But was there a better tackler in all Mayo? The younger swears he never saw his father without a whiskey in his fist. That he himself is totally fucked. The door blows open, a girl bursts in, long mane dark as deep bog water. Here you are. She hauls the young man to his feet, his spindly legs and shipwrecked eyes. Outside, she finds his bike, guides it through the rain-pocked pavement, one hand on the handlebars, the other touching his wrist. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Frank. The next one I have is Courtney Darby. If Courtney is here, Courtney, thank you so much for coming. So Courtney's poem, That Spring You Should Have Been Speaking By, is a tender poem about a mother and a child during a pandemic, where the mother concludes that doctors were for the dying, not the mute. In an effort to get her child to speak, she shows him the same black and white cow, the same half-built house, the same abandoned tractor, and uses alliteration. Look, Bubba, she says, butterfly, bumblebee, black spotted beetle. It's a poem rich in specifics, celebrating patience and coping and the necessities of small joys like crisp sandwiches and Colbert broadcasting from his bathtub. Thank you so much, Courtney, for this true one. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, please. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. That spring you should have been speaking by. That initial spring of lockdown, as you watched Miss Rachel sing, hop, little bunny, hop, 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 on repeat. I watered sprouting daffodils out half-open windows, avoided eye contact with Jim, the passing postman, and washed blue milk cartons and flimsy Weetabix boxes in lemon-scented fairy liquid. We abided 2 kilometers of fractured borings, embracing the new normal, thinking ourselves privileged to be in possession of so much clean air. Each day, I showed you the same black and white cow, the same half-built house, the same abandoned tractor, as I witnessed the same unprecedented pandemic, through rose-tinted fields, honey declarations of, we are all in this together, and a veil of cheap flaxen Aldi wine. Mesmerized, I recorded the rightness of your silence, the defiance of your bare bum, as we stomped through our sun-trapped garden, hunting for an alliteration of insects. Look, Bubba, butterfly, bumblebee, black spotted beetle.
Seeing you, pointing chubby fingers at an assembly of flapping assonants perched in swaying branches, seeing me, lips stretched, enunciating, blue tit, grey tit, robin, finch. Somehow I accepted that doctors were for the dying, not the mute. My only want, crisp sandwiches, cold air broadcasting from his bathtub, hugs, and the odd bit of sunshine. My only needs, words, sentences, conjunctions, services, and salvation, perhaps.
So the next highly commended poem is by Jonathan Greenhouse. If Jonathan's here.
No, he's American.
No, he's American, he's not here. Cool. So then we'll go on to the winners. So the third poem I know isn't here. I think he's also American or Australian, which is Damon O'Brien, just making sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then second place is Anya Rose Collin. I don't know if she's here.
No, she couldn't make it.
She could make it. Thank you very much. So then the first place is The Underground by Paul McClare. I'm not sure if I'm saying your surname correctly. Oh, good. Okay. It caught me off guard. This was a real poem that caught me off guard, and it stayed with me for a long time, and it's still with me. It's a short poem, but a deeply beautiful one, capturing a moment where the speaker's mother comforts a stranger who is coughing and suffering on a train, while all the other passengers lower their eyes. The speaker's mother goes out of her way to put her arm around the stranger's shoulders. In a post-COVID world, this poem feels like a celebration of care and tenderness, of reaching out and seeing each other as vulnerable and human, a poem of selflessness and connection, and somewhat a poem of bravery. Mostly in this poem, a speaker sees their mother as a kind of hero by virtue of her caretaking instincts that mark her out from the rest of the train passengers. The poet expresses this moment in a very pared back way, allowing the reader space to breathe and witness the scene of compassion for themselves. Congratulations, Paul.
Thanks, Mark.
Nobody knows how to pronounce our surname.
How do you
We can say Mulclair, or if we're trying to be more debonair, Mulclair. Underground. Long since forgotten, such details as what show we've been to see, the meal we shared before, even where it was on the underground, the train stopped with such brusque finality. Was it between Victoria and Vauxhall? And if I do recall the heat down there, it's only from having told the story often. The liquid, lumpy coughing of a woman chundering on the floor, and how quickly the air grew slick and viscous. Each passenger derailed from private reverie, regrouping with swarm intelligence, all eyes lowering. My mum standing up and walking over to put an arm around her shoulders.
Thank you so much, Paul. And thanks to everyone who submitted and shared their poetry with me. I am now going to hold you hostage with a few of my own poems, and the door's closed so you can't go anywhere, and you're stuck here now for the next few minutes. So my latest book was published in July. It's called Sheep to be Sad. The start of it is really to do with a house fire in my family home in Lismore. As Elizabeth was mentioning, we had a house fire a few years ago, and the reason that my dad was not in the house when it went on fire was because he was in Centra in the car park in his car having a secret 99. So this poem is called My Father's Stomach. It saves his life. The 99 he ravages in Centra car park as flames swallow our kitchen and firefighters burst through our front door. Dad used to dream of fire, financial independence, retiring early. But he can never get relief from our college fees and medical bills tacked to the notice board of his shoulder blades. The ulcers in his gut flick on like light bulbs in an office block. When he isn't consumed by work, he's making sure the stove has turf, wrangling pages of the Business Post into knots. How could he have known it would all go up in smoke? The filing cabinet of old passports and Tipex exam results. The tape recorder he used to catch us singing along to Bewitched and Baha Men. Tiles fall from the roof I used to sunbathe on with rollies and my iPod, my skin smeared in oil. I shrugged off his yells to, for feck's sake, get down. It wasn't designed to hold me this long. So the second poem I'll read then is about my brother. He brought his friends into the house after it went on fire, and he brought them in to see the damage, the smoke damage. Everything was covered in smoke, it was all very sooty, and he was giving them a tour of the house, and they were following behind him. And as his back was turned, they were all drawing dicks everywhere, so the house was subsequently covered in dicks. And this poem is called My Brother's Friends Draw Dicks. After the fire, my brother shoulders the side door, where earlier he punched its swollen lock. He jokes with his friends that his Xbox survived, as it's made from the same adamantium as Wolverine's claws. Soot and foam swallow his workout mat, his weightlifting gloves. There's the room where he used to sit cross-legged with a train set, a wrestling ring, figurines of Edge and Randy Orton. He tugs at the burnt layers of wallpaper to reveal a Peter Pan mural. His memories are a skewer of marshmallows held over a flame, a pack of Bensons he was caught with and forced to smoke at once. When he turns his back, his friends draw penises like thumbs up on the rippled mirror by the handle of the bathroom door, between the skylight's ruptured veins. This is how they cope with discomfort. Dicks fat as votive candles, glimmering in every warped frame. Yeah. So the next poem I'll read is about a school I visited in Manchester in Levenshulme, and it's a poem about the girls that I was teaching poetry to, who were amazing. And this poem is called I Ask Levenshulme High School Girls What Boils Their Blood. Islamophobia, they reply, and buttons that fall off shirts. Old people, one girl adds, and later complains that her grandmother won't stop pinching the plush toy of her stomach. People who piss about while others get hurt, says a girl cradling her wrist in a cast of Sharpie hearts. Unsolicited advice, says a voice at the back, reapplying her contraband lip balm. I swallow warnings to always carry a hat pin or the sharp tail of a comb, that wearing dungarees buys you time. I ask what they're obsessed with. Half zips, chicken tenders, hairbrushes that don't break. One girl says she is happier the farther she gets from her home. Another loves dancing behind a locked door to the Smiths and Lana Del Rey. I dream a future where none of them ever drags back the morning to see their blood swept up, torn skirts lifted and binned. Their stories, slips of paper that never get typed, drifting over St. Peter's Square, the tram tracks, the crypt. So I'll read a little poem now about my granddad, and it kind of starts with him in hospital and then turns into a memory of being on the Lewis, and it's called Stay Quiet. He's so sick of the TV's endless bellow, the stench of feces and mashed potatoes. But Grandad never complains, even as his surgery gets postponed over and over, bruises on his arms like berry compote. He knows not to stir, that one patient was murdered by another for weeping all night. My first Lewis trip, a man, high or drunk, groped my grandfather's skull, giggled at his grey curls, twirled them around his knuckles before smoothing them flat as a field of maize. Grandad sat as if at a barber's and waited for the guy with a knife poking from his pocket to stagger away. All he had lost by then, his wife, 7 border collies. I was shaking, 9 years old without a ticket. We're invisible, Grandad whispered. So I will now read a poem that is about, I come from Waterford. We don't have a great history of hurling in recent years, but this poem is about my career in hurling, and it's called What I Did on the Sideline. Felt my stomach twist like the grip of my hurl when the coach said to hammer the other team, to shove and kick. Shivered in my damp, bulky skirt, rough socks, picked at my knees like chicken skewers. Consoled the girls who'd been dropped. Others petrified they'd bleed on a pitch with a hedgerow for a toilet. Watched my team puck pass score, grass scattered like secret notes between their studs. Listened to some dad call the goalie a useless cunt as he snapped the metal lid of the dugout. Waited to be at least 7 points up, ran my tongue along the bar of my retainer as the slitter soared over the goal. Would have died for a run. Patted the cup like a newborn when we won. Pictured the powdery blue of the tumour bulging in my granny's neck to make myself cry when we lost. Her small body morphine patched, terrified. Roared, come on, come on, come on. Helpful as a plaster trailing an open gash. So I'll read just one more poem about my granny, who the book is dedicated to, but she would probably not enjoy this poem. She has died, so she doesn't really have any to say. Sorry, Granny. It's called Terminal Libido, and I love you. Terminal Libido. The closer she is to death, the randier my grandmother gets. She recalls flings with GAA players, their bulging white shorts, rolled up sleeves. She spreads open the Indo to some journalist in a slim fit shirt she'd swallow like a protein shot. Her last bone to pick with God. How close her bum, she points, is to her vagina, cursing her with UTIs. I nod, remembering when I knocked myself out on the bathroom floor, trying to cure one with baking powder. The GP stirred my urine sample, called it a pina colada. As a child, I rarely saw my grandmother touch anyone. Her arms crossed at her chest, desire a bacteria to expunge. Her body has endured 5 kids, cancer ripping through her breast, her throat. I'm told this flicker of a terminal libido is just a lesion on some cortex, a tumour or dementia's groping fingers. My father, exhausted, hands out Baileys, apologises to every male nurse. She grips one more line. Thanks. She grips my hand, glows about a long dead midfielder having his way with her. So I'll probably just do like 2 more, and then I'll be gone, and you won't have to listen to any more poems. So yeah, I'll do just 2 more. This one is my first book was very much so about my experience of an eating disorder, and exercise can still be something that I kind of struggle with. There is, in my opinion, sometimes there can be, depends on your circle and your social life, an obsession with exercise. And this poem is about not allowing myself to rest, or not being able to allow myself to rest. It's called On Banging a Kettlebell Off My Jaw. I used to love hunger, punching its time clock in my stomach for the graveyard shift. I was proud to ignore a clicking bone, a septic wound, to keelhaul myself under stainless steel and so many fingerprints. Now in pulse fitness, I swing the kettlebell's cold fist against my jaw. Blood drips on a decade of dried sweat. My vision refuses to unblur. Nobody checks on me. Not the girl sprinting in inclined bursts, nor the man pounding a punch bag the shape of a tear. I wish I had swung harder, passed out and bled enough for a caution wet floor sign, for an ambulance to arrive with a woman in high vis who might hook me up to fluids. Grant me the rest I cannot grant myself. So I just, before I read this last poem, I would love to thank the Maria Edgeworth Festival for having me. I've had a really gorgeous day, really lovely workshop earlier on today, which I really enjoyed. And it was such a privilege to read the poems for the competition. It really was an honour to read all of them, and it was a very difficult thing to do once you get down to a smaller number of poems than it is anyone's game. You know, it's they were really, really high quality. So thank you for sharing them with me. Toxins. There are no toxins in food. Okay, mercury in tuna, but you'd have to eat 25 tins. Same for rhubarb leaves. Nothing loves you as much as your kidney. Will you lie awake with me and marvel at the tiny pearl of toothpaste I squeezed from the tube despite thinking it was empty? For so long I used to burn my tongue with a nail file, not knowing there are taste receptors in my nose, esophagus, pancreas, who knows where else. Back then all I retained was water and fear. There is so much to know. So much I want you to hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Molly. That was just amazing. Absolutely wonderful. And thanks for sharing your gorgeous poems. They're lovely, really are. Thank you. And I just remembered that I think you had about 342 poems to look at. Did you run that? Yeah. Might be a few more even. So it was quite a task. And I should say it was quite difficult to know when you got to the ones that you thought might have possibilities. But thank you very much for adjudicating and coming today as well to the Maria Edgeworth Festival. Great. Okay, so now, thanks again. I can't say thanks enough. So now we're moving on to Órfhlaith Foyle. And Orla is our short story writer. And we had a little luncheon up in the old schoolhouse this afternoon, just a little snack before this evening. And I was chatting to Orla, and I was interested because she has written and directed plays, and they've been on News Talk radio. So she said she's in the throes of doing another one, writing another drama for the same radio News Talk, and it has been by the 8th of June, so she's under pressure, so we'll be waiting for that though. Well, I'm sure you'll rise to the occasion. It'll be brilliant. So Orla, she has written 3 Houses in Rome, is that right? Short stories. The last collection. Yeah, and then there's a new one coming out called The Other, now wait till you hear the title, The Other Poet Drives a Black Mercedes. Yeah, so somebody isn't doing well and the other one's doing great, But that's the one, that's coming out in September, Orla. Early September, yeah. So it's The Other Poet Drives a Black Mercedes. It's a really catchy title, a bit like Festival Soirée. It's brilliant. I was going to say, now you're going to come up in a moment, Orla. You've had about 177 short stories to look at, yeah. And you're going to present the certificates to the runners-up and the second and the first prize for the short story competition. Yeah, would you like to come up now? Yeah, thanks.
Just make sure you can hear me. And yes, as Elizabeth said, I had 177 stories to read, and I used to read about 7 a day. And I thoroughly enjoy reading because it was a break from my own writing and writing workshops and things like that. So it was completely different. Also, it was my first role as an adjudicator, and I was really honoured to be asked. So thank you, Maura Edgeworth, it's my best centre of testimony. Yes, 177 stories, and I have to say that for me as a writer, I adore stories that I can actually live within, and the stories that made the highly commended and first, second and third were all stories like that. I did find, as with Molly, both of us turned in huge, highly commended lists, so we were told, no, you can only have 3. And the highly commended, they were wonderful because so many stories I felt just needed that little bit extra to bring them along. They were so well written, and perhaps the writer wasn't as confident or was a bit scared of going further in the story. So just because he didn't make the final 3 as commended or a prize, it doesn't mean that you failed or anything like that. You're a writer no matter what. And so many of those stories, I was just so taken with them. But there had to be choices to be made, and I'm just going to hand out in a minute now, in no particular order, to the highly commended. The first one I have here for the highly commended is Badly Drawn Flames, a fascinating story, and in the mind of a child who nobody understands. And nothing is actually stated, but you can imagine your life, or you can imagine your own mind into that child's mind, and you're completely in a story, and then you're pulled out by the dialogue of the others who cannot understand this child. And I thought the title was wonderful, Badly Drawn Flames. I thought that was very, very beautiful. But what I always love in stories, all the stories I chose have this, the sensation when you're reading it that you're very much in the story as well as outside reading it. But it's a wonderful it's a wonderful experience to go through when you're reading a story. And I can only thank these writers so much for giving me the chance, the privilege of reading their work. So I would like to ask Roy Duffy to come up, please, and collect his certificate from the Marianne Edgeworth Festival for his highly commended Badly Drawn Flames. Excellent story. Is he here? No, he's not. Is he? No. Okay. Well, okay. Well. All right. The next one is Revenge. I loved the story simply because it was so bad in many different parts. I just reveled in the reading of it. It was, description-wise, it was so good, and it just brought out the scene west. Well, I presumed it was west of Ireland because I live in the west of Ireland, and just this old man slowly going mad, I thought, and then this tradition of foraging the shore for wreckage. And then it's not until you kind of get towards the end of the story, I felt, or even on the second or third reading, that you realise it is a beautifully engineered revenge story. It's wonderfully done, and I had to admire the way that the second character just fashioned her revenge. And it took years, but she finally got there. And I love the fact that she didn't get any comeuppance as such for the revenge. It was just this, you saw this woman kind of delighted that she had this revenge, and then this old man who dies in a cart, and you just think, life is just so sad and beautiful at the same time. It was a really lovely, wonderful story. And all of these stories will be, one day I hope to see published, because they deserve so much. So, Gerard Reedy, are you here? No? Okay. Sorry. Sorry. My Father the Writer by Michael O'Connor. And this is quite different in tone to the previous stories. But again, very much you're reading it and you're in there, you're with the narrator, looking at his father. And the father, there's one scene in the story that I just adored, because like all writers, I think, Michael O'Connor was able to give a scene where you can see yourself and you can see those you love in that scene. And those moments in life when you see the person you love or whoever you love, you see them in a different light. You see them as a person separate to you, and you realise they have a secret life and secret joy within them. And where in My Father the Writer, the narrator's father says he wrote what I suppose he called the instructions on a tin of paper. He wrote it all, and he was so proud of this, and he wrote beautiful letters. And it's just this quiet sort of beautiful life of loving words, and nobody knew much about it, but other than the son. But that moment when the son realizes his father was such a writer, a real writer. So I loved that story. So Michael O'Connor, if you're here, please come up. You are? Oh, wonderful. So we come to, I only have two, for first and second, so I'm going to start with second. The third person who won the third prize, they know they won it, so, but they weren't able to make it here. This one is called Unlucky in Love, and it's by Ethel Reynolds. I am a sucker for really unusual characters and stories, and the bolder they are, the better, because it goes back to my grandmother. My grandmother adored film noir. I get that from her. And there are moments in film noir when you just go, yes, somebody dies, or, it's it just feeds this thing in you. And Ethel Reynolds' story, Unlucky Love, is about this woman in I'd say, old person's home, and throughout the story you realise she never really loved her life. She felt she made the wrong choices, and it was just this sort of really sort of not spiteful or miserable, but she said what she wanted to say, but she felt, and she just knew her mind. And when she does sort of meet a man in the old people's home, she makes a good choice. There's always room to make good choices, and I thought that was wonderful of the story. No matter how little time you think you have left, there is always room to make a good choice. But more than anything, it was her voice. Her voice is superb in this story. She can be spiteful, she can be mean, but you're with her. Every word that she speaks, you're there with her. And you are her, because like every other story that I chose, these are stories you live within as you read them. So for second prize goes to Ethel Reynolds. Is she here? And now I come to the first prize. And the first prize, when I chose this story, I was nearly sure to be told, not that I would be told, but I was not so much afraid, but I thought it was such a dark story and with a kind of bold Mariah Edgeworth, you know? But then all the stories I chose had a kind of darkness in them, so I was all right. This one is called The Old Beast, and it is a hellish story, and it shows, but it begins so beautifully and so simply with a man closing down his pharmacy, closing it all down, and as at the end of the day, or end of the work day, and then it just takes a complete stir into when he meets up with this girl, and you realise they've had a relationship, and her life is way down there, and the dialogue is superb. And what I loved about it, the characters were not afraid of saying what they really mean. It was quite bold-faced, a story that made me realise that the writer was just writing for the truth of the story. And it just stunned me as a story. And I didn't find this story until towards the end of the 177. And after reading it, I just sat and stared at it, and I thought, oh my, that is one hell of a story. Again, the characters are brilliantly, you see them in your head, and what I liked about it is you could be either the male or the female in the story. You felt something for both. And at the end, life is still more or less as hellish as ever, and yet, but they could only go with that life. And it was so good. So, Aideen Henry, could you please come up? Because I know you're here. Could you please come up and collect your stuff?
To be quiet, please wait and so thank you to the committee of the Mariah Edgeworth Literary Festival for this organising this lovely weekend. And I'd like to thank Órfhlaith Foyle also, a writer whose work I greatly admire and have a huge respect for choosing my story in the first place. It's a lovely surprise for me. We write in a vacuum. So to win a prize in a literary festival is a huge validation for any writer. The Old Beast. Gavin craned his head out of the pharmacy door. and looked in both directions. No sign of her. He retreated, turning to his assistant. Laura, will you lock up and pull down the shutters? Sure, you go on ahead. She's clearing out the cash register. See you tomorrow. He slipped on his coat and gloves and left through the rear. The lights in his Mercedes flashed. He sat in and drove out of the enclosed area. Instead of turning right at the home, he turned left, then right again towards the city. And there she was, standing on the corner under the streetlight, smoking, as always. He slowed down and rolled down his window as he pulled in. In the LED streetlight, her face looked like a mime artist's mask. Well, boy, she said, get rid of the cigarette and hop in. She crushed her cigarette, he unlocked the door, and she climbed into the front seat. He pulled away from the curb. She rubbed her red hands together and blew on her fingertips. He turned up the fan, glancing over at her. The mottled flesh on her thighs was visible through the rips in her jeans. He pulled his eyes up to her face. What? She said. He drove on in silence until they reached the seashore. He parked, facing the sea, switched off the engine, and rested his head back in the headrest. A woman was walking two dogs along the strand at dusk. One dog broke off his lead and dashed after gulls, which circled in flight and settled again to feed further along the shore. The other dog watched its owner and was rewarded with a pat. Woohoo! Lover's Lane, Gav. He didn't reply. Ah, you're no crack. Silence. You're no crack anymore, Gavin. She punched his arm. The worries of the world. What's up with you? You're haunting me. We told you I was the best thing that ever happened to you. You should have never let me go. Well, too late now. No point having regrets. I've no regrets. Are you telling me there isn't a teeny weeny bit of you that wants to get back with me? Not a teeny weeny bit. She brought her face close to his shoulder and looked up at his profile. He didn't move. God, we had wild times, all right. She fell back against her seat. Do you remember France? Or was it Spain? No, wait, it was France. Yeah, Bordeaux. What a summer. You were plastered all that summer. We were all out of our heads that summer. When in Bordeaux, do you remember that bar, do you? Some match was on, and the place was an uproar. Real serious they were too. Hands on their chests and all the men saying, Jesus. It was the national anthem. It was mad, that's what it was. And they weren't even jarred. They were happy. Yeah, happy, I suppose. Here, cheer up. She pulled a small bottle of vodka from her denim jacket pocket. Have a small one. No thanks. Ah, go on. You know you want to. I don't. She pushed it under his nose. He grabbed it and flung it out the door. What the fuck? She scurried out after it, retrieved it and held the bottle up to the lamplight. Half remained. She screwed the cap on carefully and sat back into the car. You don't have to be such a shit. Sorry, I was just trying to be friendly. That's the problem. It's always been your problem, Mr. Standoffish, Mr. Cold Shoulder, Mr. Sensible. And now, Jesus, look at the state of Mr. Blatant Pharmacist. What the fuck happened to you, Gavin? You're so fucking controlled, no chance in the world your face will show how you feel. Chill it, man, little licking. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not an alcoholic. Touché, Gavin. Touché. She uncapped the bottle and took a swig. You'd forgotten that. Always the mean shot. What do you want? What do I want? What do I want? Immortality. Isn't that what we all want? To live in this beautiful world full of love and forgiveness forever and ever. What do you want from me? From you? Well, let me see the clothes. No, you've gone on. She had her hand outstretched, hand aloft, and tipped it from side to side. It trembled. No doubt they do keep you warm, but I mean really well. They're not exactly to my taste. The car? Yeah, I get about 2 miles in this yoke before the cops would take it off me. America's not really where I see at this time in my life. You know what I mean? She pushed her face up close to his and sneered louder. You know what I mean? He couldn't avoid seeing her yellow teeth. The enamel chipped. Other teeth toppling towards the gap from the missing lower incisor, the receding gums. And the burning wood smell, always there, reminiscent of childhood bonfires. He turned away. Do you need money? Money? She twisted back into her seat and looked out to the sea. Money is always useful when one finds oneself short, as one is more recently liable to do. But I'm all right for money. No, I must confess, Gavin, she over-enunciated his name. I can't think of anything you could offer me. Nothing at all. What have you to offer, Gavin? What have you to offer a woman, this woman, any woman from that cold, hard heart? Forgive. There's life in the old beast yet, she laughed. I was beginning to wonder, had you lost it altogether? He turned on the radio and flicked channels until he found music. Setting the scene, Irving. Fucking a little smoochy woochie. She poked her finger through a circle between index and thumb. A little cookie, a little whatever you're having yourself, Gavin. How much? She snapped at her. How much what? How much money do you need? Oh, this is a new low, Gavin. You've outdone yourself. What's your pleasure, sir? Would you like it in my mouth, in my gut? Oh, I know you don't like that word. Or up my butthole. Is that word okay? Is it acceptable to you? Am I acceptable to you? Let me see where I put my price list. She patted her breast pocket. I hadn't quite realised we were going to. I had you in another category altogether. For fuck's sake, Debbie, must everything be done at that level with you? You were the one who's talking about money. I'm asking you what you need from me. I want you to leave me and my wife alone. Your wife? I've no fuck with your wife, Gavin. I've never fucked your wife. She covered me like the fingers. Whoops, bad language, sorry. She saw you hanging outside the pharmacy last week. She knows who you are. You were staring straight at her. Your wife never battled me while we were out. Your wife never left me like a rag doll after shaving. Your wife never loosened the teeth in my head. Jiggity jig now, did she? Are you not getting any loving, Gavin? Is that it? How much do you want? I'm not an old bill, an old store. You have to settle. She began to cry. Oh, Debbie, stop. Here. He handed her tissues. She pushed them away. He pulled her towards him. She resisted and then yielded. Debbie, what am I going to do with you? He rubbed her head over and over. She raised her face to his and wiped the tears from her cheeks and held the tissue while she blew her nose. She flopped back in her seat again. They turned to face each other, their heads resting on the inner edge of their seats. Sorry, she said. It's okay. I'm come to you. Sorry. Her head pivoted forward. Tell me what I can do to help. I need reference for drug treatment court. It's my best chance. Means renal instead of going inside. They said they won't. I need to. Sure, no problem. I've been trying to screw up the courage to ask you these past few weeks. I wasn't trying to. I'm sorry. You don't know how hard. Fucking pride. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Her head slid forwards, so their foreheads rested against each other. Hey, you don't know. Those other pricks, they were nothing. I didn't care what they. But you, it goes deep with you. Yeah. Hey, David. asking you. It's okay. It's okay. She pulled away, rolled back in her seat and looked out to sea again. I nearly pulled it off. That's what's killing me. I nearly made it. Her hands curled into chow-like fists. Then I just met the rod. I slipped on and killing myself going. No, it's going to be okay, really. It is. She pulled sheets of crumpled paper from her jeans pocket. Here, all the details. What I've been at till now. My CV, she sneered. You know the story. Sing my praises and all that shit. I tell them you're the bravest person I know. You tell them that. I'm a fuck up, Gavin. You know it. I know it. They know it. I couldn't go to prison. I'd die there. With this, I've some hope. Thank you. She kissed 2 fingers, turned to him and placed 2 fingertips on his closed lips. He could smell tobacco from them. People can change, he said. We can. Of course, she laughed. I mean, look at you in this rapper's car wearing, what the hell is that thing on your back made of, for fuck's sake, Alan? It's sheepskin. Jeez, your taste has gone to pot since he split with me. Oh, damn him. He started up the engine. Something to eat? No, food isn't really my thing. Where did I drop you so? Camden Street Hostel. I get a bed there for the night. I have a pal on the door. Christ. Beats not having a pal on the door, or whatever god-awful fancy pal you have, mate. Don't even think of extending an invitation, as I'd hate to offend. But you know yourself, of the mighty have fallen. He smiled. They drove back into the city in silence. On Camden Street, 2 men stood outside the hostel smoking. Gavin pulled up, and one of the men quenched his cigarette and approached. He stopped at her window and rubbed his knuckles on it. His ring was strapping the canvas. He turned to Gavin. Sorry, she turned to Gavin. I was right, Doc, wasn't I? About what? That teensy-weensy bit? He looked down, turned to her, nodded and smiled. Are you sure? She rolled down the window and faced the homeless man. Hey, bud. Nice wheels now, it's classy. He squinted in at Gavin. Pity about the company. But sure, you can't win them all. She turned to Gavin. Would you drop the reference in here for me? He nodded. See you later, Gav. She stretched her tattooed fingers over Gavin's knuckles on the gear stick. Do you need any? I'm good. She got out of the car, closed the door, and leaned on the passenger window. And you, back to suburbia with you. We don't want your sort hanging around here, dragging the place down with your big words and your bad taste. Away with you now, away. He smiled at her and pulled away. He watched her in the rear view mirror. She lit a cigarette, and her eyes squinted, following his car from the window. Then she wrapped a conspiratorial arm around the homeless man, blew smoke into the air, and passed him her cigarette. They walked up the hostel steps together.
That was brilliant, Aidan. That was something soon. Thank you. That's great. So, thanks. So, that was Aidan, and a great story. Thank you. Again, I'm very privileged to have read these stories. And I wish to thank the Marianne Edgeworth Centre Society Literary Festival for asking me to adjudicate these stories. It was an honour. So thank you again to Elizabeth, to John. I'm not going to name everyone because I can't remember. Brittany, Jeannie, and all of the people that I met today. It was wonderful. So, as Elizabeth mentioned a while ago, that my 4th collection of short fiction is coming out in September. So I'm just going to read a little from one of the stories. And it was originally going to be a set of novellas, but the publishers decided to publish my book a bit earlier, so it was a frantic kind of scurrying back and trying to make them into short stories. You know, I was lucky enough I hadn't got to novella length for them, but, you know, I got to novelette length, a couple of them. So anyway, this story is called Anne of Ireland, and I grew up outside Ireland, so I never really knew much about Irish history other than what my parents told me and the odd time we met people from Ireland. But for whatever reason, I still am, and was then still am, completely obsessed with medieval history. I love it. But so this story that I wrote, and I shall read you maybe just about 2 pages, is set in the late 12th century, just kind of after around St. Edward the Normans came. And I wrote it because I had learned about a court writer in King Henry or Queen Eleanor's court of England and France. Her name was Marie de France, and she was the first female writer, one of the first female writers to put her name to her work. And my character, Anne, is, I had originally thought I'd write a story about Marie de France, and then I thought, well, no. She'd done a translation, she had translated St. Patrick's Purgatory, written years ago, and before that, she believed in translating work into the ordinary language, so that ordinary people can read it, not just the hoi polloi, the elite lords and ladies. So I decided to write a story about a normal nun, scribe, and have her decide to go one better than Marie de France and actually go to St. Patrick's Purgatory and write her experiences there. So I wrote it in somewhat similar style to Marie de France, sort of like the way stories were written and kind of, you know, certain words will rhyme, certain lines will rhyme. They're few and far between, but I just thought I would do it. And they don't go much into kind of explanation. It's straight on. It's what you see. That's what you get on the page. So this is called Anne of Ireland. My name is Anne. I am of Ireland. Know then, this is a true story. Dublin is full of Vikings, and they are large and full of hair. I warned them I am a nun on pilgrimage, and to avoid their persecution, I spend days in a Church of Christ and in its adjoining nuns' residence. The priests and nuns are interested in my arrival, hungry for news of England, France, and beyond. They expect tales from court of love of Henry and Eleanor, similar to those of Marie. I'm new, I tell them, a small, curious scribe in Eleanor's court, where the great Marie de France is celebrated and wined. The Dublin priests ask, what man taught me to read and write? No one, I reply, and their eyes swivel. A nun who lies is fodder to their hate and their genitals. And I've been raped before by their kind. And they tell me the land outside the city is peopled with animals on 2 legs. I am counselled to stay, to find life in amongst nuns, priests, and Vikings, to allow certain things to happen to me because I am a woman, a nun of no wealth. A grey day after terrible news reaches me from England. Thomas Becket is murdered, beheaded by the altar. By whom? By Henry. I cannot speak for days. I wander in the snow, pleading God to kill me, yet I remain alive, and mourning sickens me. So I barter my second best veil for honey and oatcakes, and a man at the city gate demands a kiss. The land outside is recovering from God's winter, yet the air grasps my breath, deadens my limbs, and the sun is nothing but a yellowed drip of gruel across the land. I walk for a day and a half and come to a small village with a river, and in that river stands a man, arms outstretched outwards in the fashion of our crucified Lord. He is naked, half dead, red-haired, and plagued by rats. Dogs and small children, one whose mother laughs at my compassion. He is a priest, for I find his possessions littered on the ground, I wade out to him, and his eyes are hardly in his head, so bruised and broken is his skull. His name is Matthew of Turin, following the path of St. Patrick, seeking to comfort the souls of these who have condemned him. He tells me, I beat a man who beat his wife to death. They follow a different law. And if I lower my arms, they beat me. When I fall, they re-stick me here, anchor my feet with stones. They have burnt my books. They urinate in God's chalice. Then fight, I tell him. Fight and die. I fight. I am smaller, and I fight. He laughs down at him, dribbles his spit and blood. He is mad. I leave Matthew of Turin and go on my way, although I turn to see him. He remains there to this day, or is dead so many days ago. I walk the great way, the Escarida, over bogs and rattle clone-like noise, famous across England, France, Spain, Italy, as far as Constantinople and further to Jerusalem. And I remind the abbot of this as he prepares to dispel me, a non-woman, from his sight. He relents, and says, I may sleep with the dogs or the blacksmith, and none who travels on their own is not a holy sight. And my letters of recommendation from Henry and Eleanor from the Bishop Becket, written before his sore and dreadful death. Know this woman of God seeks a pilgrimage to Patrick's purgatory. Know this woman of God goes with our love, our prayers. Eleanor had kissed my cheek and said, God loves this mad angel. Henry kissed my lips with God's kiss, pressed a seal on wax, and wished to be God's love and company. There was talk that I was Becket's bastard, and perhaps Henry's. It was never decided, and so I have lived a convent life from birth. The baker insists I eat, the butcher arranges roasted kidneys on a dish, and the cobbler lifts each of my booted feet after the other to his knee, and exclaims, has no doubt caused ailments to my toes and my ankles. Their wives unloose my veil and pick lice from my scalp. Their children lean upon my knee and shine up into my eyes. I feel my womb open in sorrow. How many might have been mine if I had not flushed them out of my blood? I sleep with the baker's wives, house, cat and dog. I cry in my sleep. The cat cries with me. The dog lays at my head. The abbot regales me with history in the morning. The Vikings came in long boats and slaughtered many months. The women were susceptible to their long beards and hair and clean skin, for they were obsessed with Viking cleanliness. And now there are Normans residing in the town of Athlone, stealing our businesses, our craftsmen, wives and monks. We proceed to the tall round tower built by Turlough O'Connor years ago, and struck by lightning some 30 years gone, and the bell house rebuilt, and the abbot kisses the stone in its wall, a true piece of God's glory. This was Kieran's shining city. This was our Jerusalem. There was the first circle, the Sanctissimus for our monks, the second Sanctior for those not wholly sinful, and the third Sanctus for all sinners. And there you'll find your nun's church through the pilgrim's playground. Flagstones as old as 200 years guide my feet to the church, and the nunnery's mother was called to where I stood at the main arch. Tall woman, with a strong face and a few teeth when she spoke. Wishing to know my reasons, I am a pilgrim for Patrick, I tell her, and she asks me why I slept with the sinful craftspeople and not with our nuns safe from men's hands. I was fatigued to walk further, I reply, and I do not need to sleep with nuns. She offers oatcakes with nettle soup, taps her fingers on the table in the nun's eating house. Her father journeyed here from a country beyond the Holy Land, drawn by the holy books in Ireland. She tosses back my letters from Henry, Eleanor and Becket, lifts the tips of my thumb in a writing figure. Perhaps there is here a place for you in our church, built by Dervla, wife of Tiernan O'Rourke, penance for her adultery and the Norman invasion of our land. I am for St. Patrick's purgatory, I say. I will write of my time there. I will pray for the souls in purgatory, and I will see the gate to hell. Thank you.
One more, if that's okay with you, then I don't want to keep everyone. This one I just remembered I didn't do this one, and that's one of my favourites. But it is called Creaky Hill. It's another Irish one. I just really love this song. And I heard a singer called Cara Dillon sing it first. I don't know if anyone has heard her, but she's got a beautiful voice and does a lot of this sort of Irish ballads. Evening in the springtime, and the small birds were singing down by yon shady arbor. I carelessly did stray the thrushes they were playing. The violets they were charming to view, fond lovers talking while I did delay. She said, my dear, don't leave me for another season. The fortune does be pleasing, I'll go along with you. Forsake friends and relations, and leave this Irish nation, and to the bonny bands forever I'll bid adieu. He said, my dear, don't grieve me, or yet deny my patience. You know I love you dearly, the more I'm going away. I'm going to a foreign nation to purchase a plantation, and to the bonny bands wherever I bid adieu. Then after a short while, if fortune does be pleasing, it'll cause them for to smile at our late going away. We'll be happy as Queen Victoria, holding her greatest glory. We'll be drinking wine and porter, all in America. So fare thee well, sweet Creaky Hill, where oftentimes I rode. I never taught my childhood days I'd part you evermore. Now I'm sailing on the ocean, forerunner and promotion, and the bonny boats are sailing way down by Dorn shore.